Continued since the end of the First World War, when King George V marked this day to be specially kept in our hearts. We remember those who laid down their lives and served and sacrificed in the First and Second World Wars and the Korean War and all conflicts since, when veterans have fought and served. Standing beside our Canadian veterans, we have many U.S. and British veterans here as well, and we honor those who served in Vietnam, Cyprus, Golan Heights, former Republic of Yugoslavia, Kosovo, Africa, Iraq, Afghanistan, the Cold War, and peacekeeping, service at home, faraway lands and oceans. We honor the bravery and sacrifice of our serving military members. We honor our police, fire, and paramedics who keep us safe every day. We honor all of the loved ones who have had their lives changed forever with the loss or injury of a son or daughter, father or mother, brother or sister, life partner, or treasured friend. With the dedication and responsibility of service often comes much sacrifice, and those impacts we know can last a lifetime and need tremendous support. We can't show our appreciation enough for these families or ever thank them enough for all of their tireless support. We would hope that we would have peace in our time and focus enjoying life and in building a prosperous country where people can achieve their dreams and our children and grandchildren would be safe and protected from war. Democracy is hard and has to be protected. Lately, we have struggled to recruit to our military. COVID has challenged us as a nation. We have oftentimes given up our freedom, our ability to be with loved ones, a good education, social development of our young people. We have had issues with our procurement and spent much time and effort with an end result of not buying ships and planes for many years in a world where the hostile threat is increasing. There are nations that are attempting to undermine our democracy, buying, creating propaganda, conspiracy theory, hate groups on social media, and polarizing our political discourse, influencing elections, and threatening our infrastructure, turning us against each other. They use the freedom of globalization to buy up our resources and are threatening our citizens. There are those that use the freedom of an open society as an opportunity to take it down, threaten elected leaders, or slow down and stop the gears of government. In the news, we see there are many nations focusing on building up and developing nuclear weapons, inventing new, lethal, faster and a way of life can be destroyed as the ravages of war kill and maim tens of thousands of soldiers and civilians. The lessons of previous wars have been forgotten, and democracy and freedom in many nations is under threat. Canada is being pulled in. Many previously died and sacrificed with their service so we could have the freedom we enjoy today protected. There is much we hold dear and is important. We do not take this freedom for granted. We have to pull together as a nation and strengthen our resolve. We have to support each other, work together, not squander what we've been given. We have to look carefully at how we are informed, where our information comes from, and be prepared to embrace each other's opinions to advance our nation. We have to respect and help each other. We need to be prepared for the future threats from wherever they come from. We need to stand strong and protect and advance our democracy. We have to be worthy of the veterans' sacrifice. We will remember them.
Please know that this includes veterans and presently serving members of the armed forces, all police departments, and all first responders. Any individual who wears a uniform in any capacity for the above-mentioned services deserves our thanks and our deepest respect. Speaking of first responders, I had an incident a couple of weeks ago. While out doing errands, I fell and broke my arm. The care that I received from the two EMS attendants was highly professional and compassionate from start to finish. I have nothing but gratitude and love for them. They did a marvelous job. One of my first thoughts after the incident was, oh dear God, any other time of year, not now. I have too many services and commitments. Too many people to pay tribute to. How on earth was I going to accomplish what I usually do at what is the busiest time of year for those who do these services? And I reacted to this with anger and bitterness. But having much time to do nothing but think, my mind wandered to the various cenotaphs and memorials that I have visited. I thought of the many soldiers I have met since losing Andrew, and I pictured, as I often do, many scenes of battle that our veterans have been in, from the dreadful trenches that impeded the efforts of our soldiers in both great wars, to the stone structures in Afghanistan that hid the enemy so well. I saw them injured, bloody, and broken, taking in the devastation surrounding them. And you know what they were doing? They weren't sitting around angry or feeling sorry for themselves. They carried on. They continued fighting, persevering in the name of freedom. So after telling myself that I couldn't attend today, I asked myself, why not? Your arm is broken. Big deal. So I decided that I would come, but not speak. While doing all this thinking, again I asked myself, why can't you speak? Your arm is broken, not your mouth. I would not be a very worthy Silver Cross recipient if I were to allow this to prevent me from being here. The very people we come here to honor would and should be horrified by my initial thoughts. Because of our brave veterans, most of us will never have to face the atrocities they did. So please remember that you are stronger than you think. You are more intelligent than you realize. And you have the ability to make a perfect stranger happy just by saying hello. I have two things to leave with you today. The first is from the formidable Dr. Seuss, whose words teach adults many things that they should have learned long before they became an adult. He says, life is too short to wake up in the morning with regrets. So love the people who treat you right. Forgive the ones who don't. And believe that everything happens for a reason. If you get the chance, take it. If it changes your life, let it. Nobody said it would be easy. They just promised it would be worth it. The second message that I want to leave with you are the words from a well-known song. When I am down and oh so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. Thank you.
We can enjoy our lives peacefully and happily. We remember the sacrifices you have made. We always solemnly remember your will to protect our country. We appreciate all the times you have thought about your country.
Many died from home, far from their families. But they are not far from us. Every 11th of November, we remember them. Today we join the more than 2,000 cities, towns, and villages across our great nation, gathering to pay tribute to the men and women of our armed forces with prayers, with dedications, and with moments of silence. It is in that silence that we remember the more than 2,300,000 Canadians who served our nation and those who made the ultimate sacrifice. This year also marks several important anniversaries. The 105th anniversary of the Battle of Vimy Ridge that saw over 10,000 Canadians killed or wounded. It was a terrible price to pay. And today we recognize Vimy Ridge as a defining moment for Canada, the moment when a nation, free and independent, was forged. Windsor hosted the national commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the raid on Dieppe. Dieppe impacted our community like no other. 553 men from the Essex Scottish Regiment landed on the shores of France, and only 53 returned. Dieppe is our story. It is a testament to our community's lasting legacy of service and sacrifice. And indeed, let us take the time to rediscover the remarkable stories of courage and sacrifice in our own community. This summer, we unveiled a beautiful mural at Tecumseh Legion Branch 261 that features the image of Colonel Paul Poisson, who fought in the Second Battle of Ypres and served as the first mayor of the town of Tecumseh. It is a remarkable story. That mural also features the face of a current member of the Essex and Kent Scottish Regiment who served in Afghanistan. And so today, I think of Corporal Andrew Brennan, who served in Afghanistan and gave his life at the age of 23. And I reflect on his life, his courage, his sacrifice. And I think of my grandpa Ron, who served with the 8th Canadian Hussars. And I remember standing next to him at the Flags of Remembrance Ceremony by the river. And I remember the Quilt of Valor ceremony at Riverside Branch 255. He would have been here today. He is with us today in our hearts. And as we stand here today, let us rededicate ourselves to stand on guard for them. Stand on guard for the peace and the freedom they paid for with their service and their sacrifice. And even as we take a moment to remember and say thank you during these ceremonies, let us also commit to visit our local region branches, talk to our local veterans. Veterans like Mr. Roland Demers, Mr. Charles Davis, veterans of the Second World War who this year celebrated their 100th anniversary or birthday. Take time to listen to their remarkable stories of courage. Develop a deeper understanding of our shared history as Canadians, for that is part of our heritage that has been passed down. That is part of the vow that we make today. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. We stand here together, grateful in remembrance. To veterans here and in Canada and around the world, we say thank you. And as grateful Canadians, we pledge to hold in our hearts the eternal words, we will remember them. Thank you.
Teresa, you are very worthy as our mother, and on top of that, you've done so much for our veterans. Never, ever, ever doubt that. You are a gift to our community that is unconditional love. And to Colonel Bradford, with my work on the Srebrenica and the genocide there, I was in Bosnia, and everywhere I went, they recognized if more Canadians were there, more lives would have been saved. Thank you for your work and your dedication and what you did there. It is a gift eternal. I wear, like everyone here, our poppies with humility and pride. Humility to be recipients in a democracy where we have the ability to speak freely and also enjoy the privileges of being able to go to work and come home to a family. We also wear it with pride because we're a country that has not been outside of the world when conflict takes place, most lately in Ukraine. When you see what's taking there, we can see how vulnerable we all are. So my message today is very simple to all of you. freedom was not free. But it's up to all of us to make sure we provide it with the dignity it deserves. So when you hear hate, when you hear prejudice, when people are being mean to each other, be part of the positive force to reconcile that wrong. Speak up. Don't click on things on these social networks or make things worse. Think again. Make them better. That's why I'm proud to be from Windsor West and from Windsor and Essex County. We push back against those things. And that's how we honor a veteran, by making sure our society is more peaceful, stronger, united, and can be an example for the world. Thank you very much.
Those that have served in the past and those that are currently serving in times of conflict and in times of peace. The one day where we all gather together to remember in solidarity. But I noticed as I was walking up, there's a maple leaf on the railing on the side of the cenotaph here that says we will remember them not only today, but every day. And the way that we do that as a society and as a community is to ensure that every person who has served in our community and beyond are able to return home from conflict to safe, stable place to live and a roof over their head. To ensure that when they return, that they have food on the table for themselves and their families, and that they don't have to go to food banks in order to be able to do that. To ensure that we have health care, whether that is home care or long-term care, whether there's mental health supports, that those are in place so that our veterans never face barriers to getting the supports and services that they need. And so those are just some of the ways that we can ensure that we just don't just remember them today, we remember them every day.
It's very difficult to remember say for me. So first, without my grandmother, who passed away in June. She was a veteran of the Air Force, and so she was my last link in my family to World War II and the horrors of it. And so, with that, I want to recognize that how important it is for me to be among you today, our veterans, to remember and honor you and your friends that have been killed or wounded for war and for service. November 11th is our day to remember. It's also a reminder that our work is never done. Remembrance Day, as we know it, started as a commemoration of the armistice of the First World War, with hope and optimism that world peace would finally attain. And we unfortunately knew that that wasn't the case. Many here who joined us in our community in Windsor and Essex County came because of war in their homelands. They came for the promise of a better life for their families and for peace. We know that many of their friends and family back home are not as fortunate. The pain of war is acutely felt among neighbors and friends. We've seen heartbreaking situations in both Afghanistan and Ukraine over the last year. There are needless casualties of war, military and civilian, and the peace that we seek is still elusive. We gather today in sadness, in mourning, and with hope that our next year will be a greater one with no new casualties of war. And I am privileged to be in the company of so many of our veterans today. We have the knowledge as civilians of the risks of war and of serving one's country with honor, pride, and distinction. But for those of us who haven't served, we will never know the grief and the emotional damage that combat deaths inflict on friends, families, and loved ones. We must never forget the sacrifices others have made for us, of which the sacrifice never leaves with physical and emotional scars. Remembrance Day is our opportunity as civilians to say thank you to all who have served Canada with distinction. We take this opportunity every year to remember the merchant seamen, sailors, air crew, and soldiers who served, including our Essex Scottish Regiment. We remember those who were killed in the First and Second World Wars, the Korean War, in Canada's peacekeeping operations, and in Canada's mission in Afghanistan. And as a thank you, I do encourage everyone to take a moment to acknowledge the veterans that are here with us today for their bravery and their heroism. Thank you so much for your service to us. And we celebrate today, the 11th day, the 11th month, the 11th hour, together with Canadians in 2,000 cities, towns, and villages across the country, gathering at cenotaphs and memorials just like the one here at City Hall Square, to remember those who gave their lives in service of our country. And so earlier joining M.P. Gretzky in placing the wreath representing the province of Ontario in honor from those from Windsor and Essex County and all Canadians will be a moment that will leave a lasting legacy for myself, celebrating all of who made the ultimate sacrifice. And to those in our audience, thank you for being here and for the choice that you've made to remember and to honor. Together we will show that the sacrifice made by our veterans will not be in vain, but that the future will be brighter for all of mankind.
Each and every year is the most important event that I get to attend as your mayor. Today I'd hope to deliver a message that underscores the importance of this day, but one that wasn't repetitive. But repetition is precisely what's needed to underscore the importance of this gathering. Without question, today is about acknowledging the service of our veterans, some of whom paid the ultimate price. They know that freedom is not free. Their families, our Silver Cross mother, know that freedom is not free. Today is about acknowledging our active duty and reserve members too, who stand ready to support global efforts towards freedom. Some of them bear the scars of war and peacekeeping. Seeing and experiencing things inhumane, they know that freedom is not free. Our friends in Ukraine, fighting for their very existence against a very repressive regime, unrelenting, unwavering, unabashed, they know firsthand that freedom is not free. The two Michaels, having spent years as political prisoners in China, music blaring in their cells and lights on 24 hours a day, know that freedom is not free. Women around the world, living under oppressive rule, those in Afghanistan who just today were banned from being in parks or gyms, would not be able to stand and gather in a park like the one we're at today, they know that freedom is not free, and they know that there is not a price they wouldn't pay for a taste of what we have. Over the last couple of years, we have lived through difficult times ourselves. The global pandemic affecting our lives in ways we never thought of before. The word freedom was used so often to describe our feelings. The freedom to not wear a mask, the freedom to walk into a store without restrictions, the freedom to take a vaccine, the freedom to protest and demonstrate what some felt were oppressive measures by government. Freedom marches, freedom rallies, freedom convoys. We lived through it all together. And in reflection and contemplation of the past 2.5 years, I can tell you firsthand, it was messy, it was frustrating, and it was hard. And I can tell you the cost of all this freedom was absolutely not free. I don't know how soldiers who paid the ultimate price would reflect on their sacrifice when compared to what some were fighting for during the pandemic. It's a question that can never truly be answered. But I do know the collective sacrifice of our veterans and those who serve today was to uphold the principles of peace, order, and good government. It was a collective sacrifice that gives us all the privilege to vote in elections and choose those we want to represent us, like we've done at all 3 levels of government over this past year alone. It's to uphold the principles of democracy and freedom as a framework and ideal that allows everyone here to maximize the value of their one life, to live without fear of oppression, to become educated, to seek gainful employment, to raise a family, and to love and be loved as they see fit. I hold in highest regard those who put their lives on the line for our democracy, regardless of how messy it is, how much friction it creates, or how expensive it gets. I, like you, know that freedom is not free. Former UK Prime Minister Winston Churchill said it best when he said, "Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others that have been tried." So today, I celebrate with all of you. I celebrate living in Canada. I celebrate peace, order, and good government, and our ability to vote in elections. I celebrate our right to protest, the freedom to express ourselves, to be ourselves, and the collective drive to make it all better one day after the next. But most importantly, I celebrate and honor all of those who've made this system possible and who fight for the ideals and the principles on which it was founded. With the benefit of age and a little hindsight, sensible people know that nothing worth doing ever comes easy. And that is true of a good democracy, and that is true of our democracy. So on this 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, let's celebrate with each other that we live in a great city, we live in a great province, and we absolutely live on the greatest country on this planet. We honor those who paid the ultimate price. They have our unending gratitude, and of course they have our deepest respect. Forever and always, we will remember them.